Well, everything that's trendy was once not trendy. You know what I mean? It's such a catch-22, right? It's like at the end of the day, a lot of these suits are like in the game of following. You know what I mean? Of like, we know that this is lucrative, so like let's do this thing, but it's like there's always a catalyst. There's always somebody who made it lucrative. You know what I'm saying? There's always someone who bet on themselves and created their momentum. And that's trailblazing, right?
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
It's like you kind of like, bulldoze through all the rubbish or whatever so that other people can then walk a clear path behind you. So yeah, bro, that's just how it works. I think that the older, that's maturation in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like that's like the more you come to understand that it's like, it's you that the world wants. I think you spend the beginning of your career emulating, and for good reason, right? It's like, imitate till you can innovate. But like you get to a point where you realize like, oh man, like what the world, it's like, this is even, there's scripture about this, but like, the world is waiting for you. You know what I mean? The world is waiting for your fingerprint, and I think the more you can like trim the fat, shed those layers and like get to your sound, to your point, I think it's a slow cook. You know what I mean? It's like, because the truth is like anything that's new is going to meet people. Anything that's unfamiliar is going to meet people in like it irritates people's brains to try to process things that is unfamiliar.
Facts.
But it's up to you to familiarize it. You feel me?
Yep.
So no, that's dope, bro.
Yeah.
That's dope.
And to be honest with you, like most people think what's cool is whatever their favorite artist or creator or influencer is doing.
Exactly.
So if you ain't doing it, it's like, all right, bro, that's cool. All right, sis, I see you, but I'm over here because everyone else is on the wave. And
yeah, it's so interesting how that works, right?
Yeah.
It's funny. Like I've been in some form of entertainment for a really long time. I'm 31 now, and I started acting when I was 16. Music has always been my passion, but I was just always one of those people who's just like, get in where you fit in, like figure out your entry point, like whatever works for you. And so it's funny because I would like release a whole project, or I would put out these songs, and these songs that I really like, just like dug down in my soul and like actualized and, whatever. And to me, these things were this art I was creating was so precious, and it was really hard to get traction. And then I would do a commercial, you know what I'm saying? That took no effort, really, no talent. Like, I mean, commercial acting it tends to be very minimal. It tends to be more about your comfortability on camera and your charisma than it is like your ability to like act, right? And so I remember I would do a commercial or something, and it's like something about the association with a brand and me being on TV.
That's it.
So much engagement, bro. Everyone, oh my God, I always knew you was gonna make it, bro. My God, man, you doing it, bro. Like whatever. I'm like, if y'all knew that I had to get that this took me 10 minutes of my time, you know what I'm saying? And all I had to do was take a bite and smile. You know what I'm saying? But like, at the end of the day, there's just something about the association with something that's already successful and already moving, So I really do think I would say 90% of the battle is just familiarizing yourself with people to the point that they now clock you as like a Coca-Cola or a McDonald's, or, you know what I'm saying? Like that is the battle, bro. It's just making yourself familiar. Once you're familiar, everyone's paying attention, bro.
Facts. Facts. No, that's true.
You could release an artistic masterpiece right now and get 3 views. You know what I'm saying? And Kendrick Lamar could do a quick little live while he's taking a shit and be like, yo, what up?
Yep. It's a wrap.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. It's up. It's up.
A gem of some content,
Exactly. I mean, and it could be as small as like, to your point, like you could have just crafted some fire music. You're like, this is my best, right? And no one really be feeling it. And then the moment, say like a radio station played it and you got a clip of it or something, it don't even got to be major artists. It just got to be next level of what everyone else is, considered. People think having your song on TV means you famous. Having your song on radio means you famous. And so the moment like I started doing things like that, where I'm associated with people or I'm taking pictures of people and they're like, wait a minute. You really artist for real. Like,
what you doing over there? We're conditioned to, because most people don't understand craftsmanship, because most people don't really understand what goes into an art form. And most people don't understand maybe the value in that, because so much of the value is in being interested in it. I think that we're just conditioned to subscribe to what these machines and what these systems, these pre-established systems are telling us to subscribe to, and I'm not saying that in a negative way.
Right. Just behavior.
I do encourage people to become critical thinkers. Yes.
Uh-huh.
I do encourage people to like really maybe try to see beyond that. But the truth is, different people have different relationship with art, bro. Some people's relationship with music is like, turn it on when I'm at the gym and I just want to get a good pump in. You know what I'm saying? And I just like a certain BPM and I like it. Some people, it's not that deep for them.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? So
that's true.
I think it's fair, bro. I think it's like, I think that the challenge for us is just marrying art with commerce and like figuring out how to do that in an authentic way. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Like that's kind of the dance. That's the game a little bit,
For real. Well, let's tap in though. Let's do this, man. Like for anyone that don't know who you are, what you about, what inspired you or what got you on this journey, just do a quick intro for the people.
Okay. Yeah. My name is Jordyn. Let me wait for that.
Yeah, you good. Yeah.
My name is Jordyn. My name is Jordyn. I'm a recording artist, songwriter, vocal producer. Man, I'm currently, I would say, predominantly working in the sync space. But I started off as, freelance songwriter and artist. Kind of got involved in like co-writing for, different artist projects and like chasing cuts and that whole thing. Doing that freelance for a while. Then got signed to a pub deal 2019. Started doing it on a slightly more, I guess, major level. That publishing company that I signed to dissolved in 2020. And that's sort of when, I got introduced to the sync world and kind of been there ever since, bro. And when I say sync, I know there can be a stigma attached to that, right? Because it's like, I don't know. I think a lot of people can think that space can be a little disingenuous or a little like low-hanging fruit vibes. But for me, my relationship with it has been creating stuff that I love for the most part. Don't get me wrong. I do gig work too.
Right.
But like creating stuff that I love and my team kind of finds homes for it. You know what I'm saying? And places it in the appropriate mediums for it to like really shine. You know what I'm saying? So that's the spark notes,
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah. I'll say even from a music perspective, let's go into the artistry part first. Let's dive into that first.
Okay.
Like growing up, what kind of music inspired you? Whether that's a type of music, a genre, artist, like who inspired you?
Okay, so it started with the Temptations for me.
Let's go.
Granted, so I always loved music. But when I watched the movie The Temptations, I think that spelled it out in a way that I really needed at a time. I don't know if you're familiar with the movie, but it dropped in 98, stars like Leon or whatever. But it was something about seeing like these young kids in high school who after school had these like singing groups and they were all like singing different harmonies or whatever out on the corner. And then people were flocking to them or whatever. And then it parlayed into them being discovered. And now they're doing a show and Berry Gordy came and whatever. So something about seeing it in that way, sort of linear, connected with me. So I started kind of emulating that at school. And I started writing songs and holding rehearsals for non-existent opportunities, and delegating different parts of songs to, kids in my class and that whole thing. So yeah, started off with the Temptations. And then I had sort of a Michael Jackson obsession for a while. That's probably the deepest and most like, long lasting obsession that I had was Michael Jackson, but all kinds of stuff though, bro. I mean, it's funny because I'm a hip hop artist, obviously, pop music at the time was hip hop and R&B music, when I was growing up. So, it was Ludacris, it was Outkast, it was, Eminem, it was, on the R&B front, it was Neo, it was, Mario, it was Chris Brown. It's definitely an array of influence. My parents listened to like folk music from the 70s, my mom loved the Carpenters and, that kind of thing. So it's really an array of music that kind of plays into where things landed for me, which is I tend to be a chameleon, I tend to just kind of like create whatever's asked of me or whatever I feel inspired to, or whatever if my collaborator at the time is trying to, lean into.
That's dope. Yeah. That's dope. What caused you to go from like fanatic, music listener, fanatic fan to, you know what? I want to try to be an artist. Like what happened there? At what point did you go, you know what, let me try this out a little bit?
That's a good question. So I don't know, maybe like built-in audacity, built-in audacity. I mean, I'm trying to think like when I was a kid, okay, I'll give you something tangible. So I had a mentor. I referred to him as my uncle, but like he was essentially a mentor. He wasn't like related to me, but I started dancing when I was 8. He was the choreographer of the dance group that I was a part of. He sang and he took me to the studio when I was 10 to record my first song. And I think when I heard myself on a CD, like when I was really exposed to that, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, there are like, cause I think as a kid, you conceptualize these things, but you don't really know how it happens for real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't really know the inner workings of it. So something about being in the studio, recording a song, hearing it back, like having a CD that I could play made it real for me. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it was that was probably the moment where it locked in and it said like, this is something you can do, And at that time, it wasn't as easily as accessible as it is now. Like, now everyone has a studio in their living room or in their, whatever, their guest room. But like at the time, it was like, snap, this is a studio. You know what I mean? So I think it was that, man. And then, after that, there was this like Boys and Girls Club down the street from my school. And they had a recording studio at the teen center there. It was sort of like a new addition to it to kind of attract kids to come to the teen center or whatever. So once I discovered that, it was a wrap. That's when it started to really actualize, where it's like, I can come here every day. I could download a beat off SoundClick. I could write a song. I can record it. Now I'm learning how to like play with my tone. Now I'm learning how to like add harmonies. I'm learning how to stack vocals. Then after a while, it became a thing of like, I'm in there all the time. Other people want me to not produce, but vocal produce their projects. So it's like, they're coming in, I'm playing engineer now. I'm telling them how to sing it. I'm giving them the harmonies or whatever. So I think it was that, bro. It was having access to spaces like that at a young age that made it real,
That's dope. No, I love that response, because honestly, for every artist, every artist is different. Every artist's journey is different. And, like what kind of got you in the door can be different as well. For some people, it can be as simple as like, as you were saying, like someone that I kind of looked up to, or that like that supported me, kind of got me in the door, just had me in an arena, in an environment that I was like, wait, is this what it's like?
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
Yeah. At an impressionable age, you know what I mean? And so grateful. I mean, what a blessing it is to have people like that in your life at that age, because like a lot of maybe self-esteem work, or a lot of the things that I might have otherwise had to do later in my life at a time where, there was more to juggle, i.e. bills and survival and stuff. Like, I'm going through this process, ages 10 to 18, you know what I'm saying? So it made it a lot easier to, when I then moved to LA at 18, I was like, put me in, coach. Like, let's go. I'm ready. You know what I mean? Like, I'm confident. You know what I'm saying? And so, thank God for him. His name's Prince. I'm just going to shout him out. Prince Habib.
Hey, shout out. What? Yeah. So at what point did you feel like, cause especially at the beginning of like anyone that's in music, whether you're a producer, rapper, singer, songwriter, etc., there's a point where you're at the beginning, you're trying to, you're learning the ropes, etc. But then there's a point that you hit where you start to gain that confidence, where you're like, okay, I can do this. Like, I do this for real. Like, what was that point for you? Was it a song? Was it a performance? Was it a project? Like, what was
So I'm glad that you actually compartmentalized it like that, because I think you have them in different ways, right? Like, you can get to a point in your confidence with recording, but then you're like, oh, but performance, I haven't
made it.
Yeah. Right. So I'll give you those individually. So for song, the funny thing I was talking to a friend about this actually, and he put something into perspective that I was like, oh wow, like look at God. I was not really validated by anyone but this person, Prince. So like my friends didn't fuck with my music like that. You know what I'm saying? Can I curse on here?
You good. Yeah, do you? Yeah, you good. Do you think?
Okay, cool. So like I wasn't one of those, I mean, like any kid starting off, like I wasn't that good. You know what I mean? Like I had, sure, did I have a certain knack for, keeping rhythm, and did I kind of understand, the framework of it, the bones of it? Sure. But obviously I had to build and refine. So it was like, I didn't receive a ton of validation. So it was actually kind of crazy that I was committed as I was, because I was kind of roasted, bro. Like, I remember my brother and his friends like flaming me, bro. Like, I make a beat or I do a rap and they'd be like it was very clear that what I was doing was not tight, right? So I wanted to say thank God for Prince and just like my desire to, like, I guess prove them wrong, maybe. Good at this, right?
Yeah.
Because this friend I was talking to, he was like, nah, my whole life everyone told me I could sing, and they were like, boy, you better go up there and play the piano, and they encouraged me and that whole thing. And I was just like, man, that's beautiful. Okay, back to your question. My bad. I'll be going on tangent.
Yeah, you
so there was, I would say, like a 4-year process where I was trash. Ages 10 to like 14. And trash is dramatic, but like, I was working, I was building. 14 years old, I wrote a song called Love Not War. I think it was something about the marriage of me finding quality production via SoundClick. Like, there were real life producers on there making like really dope tracks or whatever. You could lease a beat for like, you could get an MP3 for free. You could lease a wave for like $40, and you could buy tracked out stems for like $150 or something. Like, that's kind of how they were doing it at that time. So I would download these songs. So I think once I started getting real tracks that were dope, that were radio ready, something about that started to elevate my skill set to kind of rise to the occasion or whatever. And there was a song called Love Not War that funny enough, Prince actually wrote a chorus on. That was the first song I played for my homies, that they were like, yo, this shit's tight. Like, give me this, bro. You got to put this on MySpace. Like, whatever. And that was the minute I knew, like, okay, I'm on to something. Like, all right, let's keep this up. Let's keep leaning into this. Next song was a song called Perfect. But all that to say, so that was recording. And again, it was the marriage of quality production with, like, I had just started learning the ropes on how to track my vocals and how to layer them, and that kind of thing in the teen center. So 14, I would say, is when I got over the recording hump. 15 was the performance hump. There was are you familiar with the Apollo?
The Apollo, yeah.
Yeah. So there was like a kind of like bootleg Apollo that we used to do. I don't want to say bootleg because it was actually really tight where I'm from. But in San Diego, it was called Late Night Live at the Lyceum. And it was basically where all of San Diego, I would say more South San Diego, to be honest, like, they came to boo you off the stage. Like, that was the incentive of the show, right? Like, you knew, like, as young people, like, we knew we're gonna go to the Lyceum tonight. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna have an array of talent, and like, we can boo, which as young people, you're incentivized, negativity incentivizes you, right?
Right.
So I had gone there a couple of years in a row just as an attendee, and I definitely exercised my right to boo. You know what I mean? Like, it was that was just the culture of the space, right? Say all that to say, there was a day where Prince, my mentor, was like, I signed you up. You're performing at the Lyceum. This is when I was 16. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I know karma. I know karma is going to come after me, bro. Like, are you kidding? Like, to me, this was the thing that I dreaded and feared the most as an artist. Like, I already had performance anxiety. I had been doing it since a young age, but I still never really got over that hump of feeling totally confident in it, And so, yeah, he was like, you doing Late Night Live at the Lyceum? Bro, when I tell you, he told me like 2 months before I was doing it, because I think he wanted me to have some time to like really get ready. When I tell you I was just sick and anxious for the whole 2 months, like, I was just terrified. I don't think I can recall a time in my life where I've experienced such like chronic, like long, like, I don't know, long form stress. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was like every single day for 2 months. I was like, this is the end for me. It's done. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, fast forward, the time comes, it's time for me to do it. I do a terrible tech rehearsal, bro. Like, the tech rehearsal was the moment I knew. I was like, I'm getting booed.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap for me. So the tech rehearsal actually did a different song. And I was just like, something about that didn't feel right. Like, it really went wrong. And so the actual performance was the next day. I was like, I'm changing my whole set. Changed the whole set in one night. Cause I was just like, if I'm gonna go out there and I'm a fail doing something that I felt comfortable doing.
There you go.
Right? I changed the song, I changed the layout or whatever, and go up there. And bro, I wish I had like a really like crazy ending for you. The win was I didn't get booed. I didn't get booed off the stage. They had the whole thing where it's like the Sandman comes and they, like the lights start going or whatever. Like it was like a very like abrupt thing. Like it was real life humiliation if you got booed. And most rappers got booed. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just like it's hard to entertain as a rapper. You know what I mean? It's not. Obviously with vocals, there's just a natural kind of built-in connection to that skill set. And with dancing, it's visually stimulating and you know what I'm saying? Like it's exciting or whatever. With rapping, it's just a little bit hard. Like rappers used to go out and just throw money off the stage. That was the strategy, bro. They literally come and they'd be like, if I'm about to get booed, I'm gonna just throw money to the crowd and they're gonna stop booing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm coming out here and I know I'm doing this little rap song. And I didn't get booed off the stage, bro. I actually took third place, which, that was a big win for me. Cause like really the only thing I did not want to do was get booed off the stage. So then after that, bro, I was like, I can perform. You know what I'm saying? There was something in me instinctively that connected enough for them to like rock with me through the end, And then after that, it was like I did a school tour circuit that I think really solidified that. It was when I was 18 years old. I came to LA and the first thing that I did was I got plugged in with someone who hosted a school tour out there. And I did like Westchester High, I did Crenshaw High, I did Long Beach Polytech or whatever. And these were schools with like there was some talent in that pool, bro. Like these were not schools that were like, I'm so excited. They were sizing you up. They were looking at you like, can you do anything I can't do?
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? So once I was able to get through those shows and, I think that's sort of what built my confidence.
That's good.
Something about like doing the really difficult thing out the gate made it so that everything after that, I think was a little bit breezier,
Yeah.
I
mean, what I hear is, man, the sooner you get out of your comfort zone, the faster you get to that progress. And the faster you get to see growth and maturity, not just you, the performer or the recorder, but just you, the artist. Like I always say, I like to compare being an artist to going through puberty, right? Because like you have to find who you are as a person when you're going through middle school and then high school. And then if you go to college or wherever else you go, but truth be told, the same thing applies as an artist. Like, cause when you start, and you said it earlier, you start off with your influences and the stuff that you like listening to personally. And then you find out, like, as you keep moving, wait a minute, like, it's cool. I'm influenced by this person, but like, when I hear this is the direction I want to go. And you start forming your own opinions, your own views, your own artistry, your own mottos, like your own sayings, your own slick tones and things that you like to do, man. But you can't get there unless you're uncomfortable though. You can't.
At first. It's like anything, right? It's like the gym, bro. It's like there's that like dreaded period where you are like working super hard and you're not seeing the results, right? And it's easy to get discouraged in that chapter. And it's easy to throw in the towel in that chapter. I'm saying this and I'm feeling convicted because I need to go through this specific process. I need to be in the gym more. But I've heard from my friends who have refined their physique that there's this point where you can't stop going. You know what I'm saying? Where it's just like you find your rhythm, you find what works for you. You know what I'm saying? You see the results and you become addicted to it. You know what I'm saying? And I think there's something about loving it though. I will say, I think what got me through all of it, what got me through being flamed by my homie's friends, or by my brother's friends, what got me through like just not being good, going and doing mall shows and being awkward and whatever. And, was the fact that like, I really, really loved it. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that in terms of if there were to be a nugget or a takeaway, I think it's finding the thing that you love regardless of the validation of the outcome. You know what I'm saying? Like finding that thing that like everyone, like the gravity could be against you doing it and you gon' through. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
But you know what I mean?
That's a
like
fact.
Boat against the current. You're going to make the stream like, shift directions. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's about finding that thing. Once you find that thing, it makes that initial process a little less dreadful because you're so excited to get to the other side.
That's true. And that's why I think that the artistry side is so important, because there has to become a point where like, you know how much you invested into that song and those lyrics and those melodies, to the point where like when you release it, a part of you is just like, nah, that helped me get through something. I don't care what nobody say. Like there's certain songs where you're just going to stop caring completely if it's trendy or not. You like, nah, this got me through something. We here.
Yeah.
We here.
It's for me first. It's for me first, you know? Yeah, I agree with that 100%, bro.
So let's get into this. So we touched the artistry side a little bit. Let's get into the like, not corporate, but like the industry side a little bit, right? Because I think that sometimes artists struggle with well, I want to be an artist, but then they try to like almost exclude the business side, and you can't exclude the business side of the music business. For you, what was that like learning the business side, like the highs, the lows? What was that like?
So I would say that I got involved in the music industry when I moved to LA. I went to a 3-month program at the Musicians Institute. Like I said earlier, it was put me in coach time. It was like, I'm ready. I've been in the studio the last 5 years at the Boys and Girls Club. I feel like I have enough to get going, you know? I went there, went to every seminar that I could, plugged in with every opportunity that I could, sometimes cold approach, bro, just going up to, I want to write a song for you, you know, whatever. And I got plugged in with, there's this producer in one of my classes who came up to the front and was like, hey, I'm interning at this studio with Kerry Gordy, who's Barry Gordy's son. And, you know, he has an artist that he's managing right now and he's looking for writers. And I had learned, I don't know exactly when this kind of clicked for me. It might have been actually at this time where I was like, okay, if I can provide a service, that's a much easier in than me trying to get people to service what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? So I admittedly, bro, like I wasn't a songwriter. Like I didn't identify as a songwriter necessarily. It was more so just like, this might be my end. You know what I mean? So I told him, I was like, bro, I'm down. I want to write for the artist. Plug me in with Kerry. Fast forward, connect with Kerry, send him a demo, connect with him, get my boys involved. They come in as like the in-house production team. We're the writing production team or whatever. She gets signed to Epic Records. And I think that once she got signed, that was when I started getting a sense of what's going on. This is when I started getting a sense of like, you know, sort of like the team that was being assembled, the A&R, you know, the label budget. She got signed for this much money. This much money is allocated to this, you know. I remember one of the most eye-opening moments for me was when I realized how much money goes into breaking an artist. You know what I'm saying? It put a lot into perspective. I learned that at probably 19, 20 years old of like, I remember they were telling me she had just got signed and it was like, yeah, like, you know, we're going to do a soft launch, you know what I'm saying? Which at the time meant like, we're just going to kind of do some like, you know, put her out on socials, you know what I'm saying? And like, you know, maybe run some ads and like kind of just build like a mild amount of buzz. Right.
Yep.
And I inquired, I was like, so what are we talking for like a soft launch or whatever? And the number at the time, I believe, was $375,000. We're going to invest $375,000 into the soft launch of this song. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, shish. I was like, so you mean that me putting my song up on Reverb Nation, you know what I'm saying? And I asked $50 to lease the beat, you know what I mean? And like me just like telling my friends to listen to it and add it to your MySpace page isn't enough? You mean to tell me that like to make a little bit of noise?
Yeah.
You spending $375,000? You know what I'm saying? So I think it was good for me at an early age to just really understand like this shit is marketing, bro. It's marketing. You know what I mean? And it's money movement. It's money movement. At the end of the day, there are systems in place. You know what I'm saying? And they respond to money, you know? And so, yeah, that was kind of my first experience, I would say, just coming to understand what I was stepping into. Cause again, this is the genesis. This is the beginning of my experience in the industry. And so I don't want to ramble, but yeah, that kind of at least is where it got started. I don't know if you like, you know, if you want to delve into anything else specific, but.
No, I mean, like, man, the journey, especially like the industry side was I think initially like for me personally was a roller coaster, bro.
Yeah.
Because I think that at first, man, my focus was such like, I was trying to prove people wrong, mainly my homies first. Cause, you know, like very similar to what you said. The only difference with mine is my dudes would do it in like subtle ways. They'd be like they'd hear a song from me. I'd be like, yo, here's a rough draft, bro. Like, I need y'all to listen to it. Let me know what y'all think. and I'd hear stuff like when my production started getting up, I used to hear, all right, the beat cold, bro. I like this beat. Like, what you mean, bro? Like, okay, right. But I hear you. All right, I hear you. All right. So then, when I started realizing, hey, yo, bro, I need features. Like, I'm doing whole songs, 3 almost 4-minute songs, 3 verses, every song, because that's where music was at the time too.
I remember the 3-verse
era. The 3-verse era, bro. And they had to be cold. Like, all of them had to be good.
Hey, but you always knew, but like the 3rd verse, you always knew you was just kind of filling in the blanks at that point.
Yeah. And so like, I was like, all right, let me start like doing some features. So really I can do 2 verses and then make sure like the best verse is that 3rd, right? But then I was starting to hear, oh, yo, who that? Yo, his verse was cold. Oh, yo, you had her on the hook. She fire. I'm like, yo, I know y'all know this is my song, bro. And so I was so focused on making sure that the song, like that it was undeniable, that by the time I got to the business side, as you said earlier, it was almost a little bit of a shock. Like, wait, I sent it to Reverb. Like, what you mean? Like, it says I'm one of the top 5 people in the area. What you mean? Like, I'm straight. And when really, like, there was a lot that I needed to learn, whether it was like pro organizations or like, this wasn't even like, people really weren't even talking about sync. Like at this time, like actually like the word sync wasn't there. People were like, had music in TV shows and things like that, but the word sync, like sync licensing,
yeah,
it wasn't.
I'm gonna piggyback on that. I'm gonna note that. I want to hear the rest of it.
Yeah, but so like at that point, like I was like, all right, so the music good, but then I had to start focusing on other things, like, all right, the mixing and the master part. All right, like now you're talking about the business side from a marketing perspective. Okay, we're still talking about social media from a baby perspective, really, because at that point, it's really just the top dogs, which was Facebook at the time. You're talking Twitter. MySpace was starting to move its way out a little bit, but really it was Facebook, Twitter, and early YouTube. And so at that point, I'm like, man, I just need to post. I just need to print some CDs and I'm good. And that's all I really understood until I recognized that, man, why are all these dope artists around me? Why don't I see them going anywhere? Like, and that started to drive me. So that's when I started reading books, hopping on YouTube, just doing everything that I could to learn about the business from the role of a manager. Like, there are a lot of artists that just think like, oh, they say, I just need a manager. Like, but you do realize you need something to manage, right?
Bingo.
Like if you just feel like you need a manager, right? Like, what do they manage? Now, if you just want a manager because you just want them to do everything, then you don't need a manager. If anything, you just need some motivation. That's what that is.
That's, bro. I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah, you're good.
Just to speak on what you just said, the industry that sort of shaped our aspirations is not the industry that we're in now.
Correct.
You know what I mean? I grew up, like I said, I watched the Temptations, and it's this really idealistic sort of linear journey in terms of how it's captured, right? Which is like, you know, you sing, you have talent, and then there's this important person with power who discovers you and they make it happen for you, right? I remember the Cheetah Girls, bro. I used to love the Cheetah Girls. Like, you know, like I used to love that movie. Like, there's another movie that sort of spelled out this ideal process of like this girl, and she's in her room and she's like comes up with these songs and they do this talent show, and then all of a sudden this big record executive comes to the talent show and changes their life, right? This is the messaging that we got.
Yeah.
So I don't blame the person who thinks that that's what it is. I don't blame the person who's like, all right, now I need my manager. Because that's what we saw. We saw that all you got to do is make the music and do the thing. And then you get discovered. And then you turn into a pop star who's touring the world. You know what I mean?
Which explains why, to your point right now, which explains why this current generation aspiring artists now feel like, well, all I got to do is post it on TikTok and I'm gonna go viral for the same reason that they don't really see the work that's behind the scenes. Because like me and my boy, Prophet, we say this all the time, like your favorite artist or the person that you saw go viral, in your head, they blew up last night. But you don't know that they're not an overnight success. And my boy Prophet says, no, they're overnight success. They're just a 10-year overnight success that you didn't know about. And so like to your point, it's the generation of whatever you saw.
Yeah. And to add on to what you just said, there was likely, I'm not saying that there's not anomalies. There are people who just really do. They have something. Like they caught lightning in a bottle. They posted something. It went viral. It changed their life forever.
Yeah.
That does happen.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? However, those are the anomalies. Those are not, that's not they're the exception. They're not the rule.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Likely that person, again, backpedaling to where I was with discovering the label system and discovering budgets behind breaking artists and what have you. There was infrastructure in place. There was likely you know what I mean? There was likely someone who understood how to run the ads, or there was likely someone who, you know, had an investment. Like there were probably, to your point, 10 years of steps in building infrastructure that made that moment possible. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with you 100%, bro.
And like the industry's it's just different now. Like everything is, we could just start with social media. Like its impact on how artists are discovered, how artists display and represent themselves, and even how they interact with people that support them. Because now we're at a point where, honestly, there are a lot of conversations about like, hey, if you're an artist, do you need streaming? There's a legitimate conversation about it. Now, some absolutely do, but there are some that their followings are so strong that they can go, hey, if you want my album, you got to go to my website and get it.
And get it there. Yeah, that's facts.
And I love that. Like I love, if your following is that strong, if you built a community, a connection piece that's that strong, do it.
La Russell is somebody who I think is a really dope. I just think he exemplifies like the most ideal version of what a modern artist looks like. I think he's very aspirational in that way. And which I want to say that also saying that I don't want to say he's the exception, not the rule, but I think that he is, again, I think he's aspirational, but he's him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of skill sets. There are a lot of aspects to who he is as a person. You know what I'm saying? That like his entrepreneurial instincts, his like, there are a lot of variables there that make it work for him. You know what I'm saying? So I still don't suggest that anybody try to follow anyone's blueprint to a T, right? Because it's like again, circling back, it just comes down to finding your fingerprint, bro. Finding your path. You know what I'm saying? And being okay with your path. But I know I just went on a couple of tangents there. But yeah, that's what you said made me think.
No, you're good. I actually wanted to ask you about because like you've been in the music game for a minute. I've been in the music game for a minute, and I'm sure we've both seen just different things from emerging artists, right? Some things that are great, right? Like there are so many talented people right now. It's ridiculous, bro. Like it's ridiculous. But I wanted to kind of ask you about the other side of that, where there are mistakes that like we made in our journeys along the way. Are there common ones that you're seeing from artists, producers, etc. right now in music? Are there common mistakes that you're seeing?
I don't want to reach for anything. I can't think of anything off top. Like there are, but I feel like I want to hear your perspective on this.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Well, I want to hear your perspective.
Sure.
I feel like you have something. I would be conjuring something up because it's just not at the forefront of my mind now. So I want to hear your perspective, and maybe that'll kind of get my juices flowing.
No, for sure. I think there are two that come to my mind. For me, one is artists that assume that their friends are their fans. That's one to me because because I'll admit, when you're a new artist, your family and friends are your first fan base. They are like, cause that's how you get started. That's how you try to learn the ropes of what works, what doesn't, things like you can test things out. You're just in the testing phase. And there's nothing wrong with that. But as you continue on, and this is when we talk about the marketing and money invested and things like that, taking more seriously, you have to realize that the people that you're trying to reach are probably not your family members and your friends, because they have their own likes when it comes to music, their own people that like styles that they like listening to. And just because you're blood or you're my friend or you're my homie, that doesn't mean that you're my target audience. Right. And so I find that artists sometimes get frustrated because they'll say like, well, I'm not getting the likes and the shares and the saves and everything that I need. It's like, because, well, part of it is you're not giving your all because you're concerned that your friends see you trying. Like that's a whole nother conversation.
That's really good, bro. That's really good.
That's part of it. And the other part of it is sometimes artists release music without a plan. That's the other part.
Okay. Oh, I want to piggyback off of what you said because, to your point, the friend discouragement. So okay. So I'm going to give you a definitive answer to what you just asked me. I think maybe one of the things that I see, and I think social media did kind of create this, is I think people think that you don't have to hustle. Circling back to, where I was initially, where I told you, and you kind of spotted that the theme of what I was saying was getting uncomfortable, getting out of your comfort zone. I think social media has made the pursuit really comfortable, which is awesome. I actually think that's afforded even people like myself who used to constantly maybe be hyper vigilant and too uncomfortable to the point where you could never really like hone in like what your like authentic expression was in a way. I don't know. That's that. I don't need to touch that right now. But like, I think that there's something about the grassroots era, bro. There's something about having to go out and do a show at the mall and get flamed by your homies. You know what I'm saying? And like, and keep pushing through and like I said, and go out on the stage and risk getting booed. There was like I don't know, like a muscle fiber, you know what I'm saying? That was developed in that process. And I just think it made the gift more potent, and I think that even just speaking to like really being around human beings, you know what I'm saying? And like experiencing in real life what it's like. So like, I remember back in my day, bro, we had email. I would have my email list and then I would sell CDs. Like that's the era I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, I would do a show at a high school and then I would have my table with my little thing, my price page or whatever. And I have my email list and then I would sell CDs. And like, there was a moment after a show where you knew you was trash because if they didn't come up to your table and buy a CD, you know what I'm saying? You knew you had some work to do. And if they came and they bought the CD and the girls was trying to take pictures with you and that whole thing, there was just something so authentic about that. And I don't know that people have that now. And so I think that sometimes there's like a momentum that's lacking, you know what I'm saying? And I don't want to preach at anybody. Even I have found myself at times, granted, I'm sort of a hybrid. I'm in the artist world, but I always have the songwriting world and the, whatever that I can fall back on. So like I could 100% exist in the songwriting space and I can kind of exist in the artist space when I want to, how I want to. Right. So like even for myself, I'm trying to get back to that energy a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Cause I also am somebody who succumbed to the social media era of like, oh, I could release a song and then I can just post some content. And that's like the promo plan. Versus like, nah, like we need to get back to, I'm speaking to myself. I need to get back to that 15, 16-year-old kid who was like, nah, I'm out here in your face, skin to skin connection. You know what I'm saying? Like shaking hands, getting emails, pushing product. You know what I'm saying? Because like that really that's what we do it for, bro. We do it to connect.
There it is.
And I think that there's this illusion that like social media is about connection, and it should be, but unfortunately, I think it's been perverted. I don't think it is anymore. I actually think it's an illusion now. I don't think connection is the majority of what's happening on social media. I think people are just doom scrolling, you know what I'm saying? And like, I went off on a long tangent, but I'm going to like, put a period on it by saying like prioritize connection. That's what I would tell artists today. That's what I'm observing right now, is that there's not enough priority, you know what I'm saying, or emphasis on connection, human connection, which is what we're trying to do. That's the point of music.
Yes. You preaching, bro. Like spot on. And like sometimes, and I'm gonna speak to like the artist for a minute. Like sometimes you wonder why certain opportunities aren't coming to you. And it's because the opportunities are outside. You know, like you hear people say, hey, walk outside, touch some grass or something. Like be attached to the world. Man, I can tell you personally, I've gotten opportunities to perform and not even at my own shows, bro. I'm talking about times where I just went outside to support another artist and I'm just chilling and I'm talking to someone. I have no idea who this person is, just being cordial, being a good person. And then come to find out, I get like a phone call or email the week after, someone asking me, hey, do you want to perform at said venue? And I'm like, wait, how do they know about me? I've never performed at that venue before. Coming to find out, that person I was talking to at the bar or whatever it was, like their dad is the owner of that venue. Like you can't make this stuff up, bro. Like you gotta go outside. And man, there was one year where I saw like a 500 follower boost in my Instagram. And all I did, I promise you, all I did was I was going to other people's shows. I was going to seminars. I was going to conferences, whatever. And just from talking with people, like just like they knew I was an artist, but it wasn't based off the fact that I rapped or they ever saw me on stage. It was just like connection and boosted my socials. And then coming to find out, then when you are dropping music, when you are dropping stuff, there's a more genuine, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just share it. Like I'm just off jump. Like some of them won't even, you don't even have to ask them. And so like
because they like you, bro.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, it all ties back to like the world is waiting for you.
Exactly.
People fuck with you. You know what I'm saying? Like your product is just an extension of you. Mm-hmm. You know, people know when they're being sold on a product, and you know what I'm saying? And it's like people want to, and granted, there's two sides to that. I also think that sometimes we can give too much credit to people who maybe have influence that aren't really refined in their craft.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a thin line, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Certainly try to be good at what you do. Try to be excellent at what you do. But also understand that like what incentivizes people to care about what you do is liking you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I agree. Even me, bro. I mean, I'll speak to that. Like I remember meeting with the Hawaii Songwriting Festival. You're such a prolific speaker, bro. Like I remember we were doing a panel and I was just like, oh, this guy, like he does this. You know what I'm saying? Like this guy, he watches, he's studied the greats. Like he's going TD Jakes up here right now. I was getting gems, bro. I was sitting, because funny enough, I've gone a long time in my career without doing any sort of speaking engagement. So doing the Hawaii Songwriting Fest was actually a step out of my comfort zone. Mm. You know what I'm saying? Because it's one thing to do a thing. It's another thing to communicate how to do a thing. You know what I'm saying? They're two completely different skills. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I was and am still refining that skill. You know what I'm saying? Of like, I've been doing it for this many years, but how do I trace what I did and give it to people in a digestible way and motivate them to want to do it? Like that's a skill that I have not refined yet. But like, I just remember hearing you talk and be like, yo, this bro. I was like, this guy is saying some shit up here. Bro. And more importantly than saying some shit, like you just knew how to say it, bro. You know, and I was intrigued. I immediately was just like, yo, this guy, I gotta connect with him.
But then at the same time, I was like, but I'm also up here for a reason. So I gotta find my niche within this group. And to be honest, I'll say like 90% of the time, I felt like a fish out of water a little bit. And not because I didn't think what I was saying had like meaning. It's because like I know how artists can be sometimes, and artists gravitate to the person speaking that's the most accomplished, not always the person that like is speaking to them. And so the last question that I got asked, I said, you know what, if I get off the stage, it's going to be me being me. Yeah. And so that's when the young lady said, hey, what do you do when you just don't feel like releasing music, or you just don't feel confident enough? And that's when I said a gift isn't a gift unless it's given. And I wasn't conjuring that up out of like, it just, I don't know if you've ever been talking to someone and then you get done and you almost completely forget what you said. You just know it hit people. Mm-hmm. And I just remember walking off and everyone looking at y'all, and I'm thinking like, oh, everyone's about to head that way. So let me dip. Let me get out of here. Right. Yeah. And before I got to the door, everyone's like, hey, what's your name? What's your name? Can I talk to you? And I'm like, wait, what did I do? And what's funny about it is someone had recorded what I said and posted it and tagged me in IG. And that's the moment I was like, I'm always going to be me. I have to bring myself to the table. Yeah. And to your point, when you say like, hey, us knowing where we need to refine ourselves, in that moment, I realized I needed to stop dimming my light. And I think that sometimes we do that. Yeah.
That's so beautiful to hear. even from my perspective, bro, because it just goes to show how in our heads we are and how much like I would never perceive that moment as being that for you. I perceive that as like, oh, this is somebody who does this. You know what I'm saying? Confident in that they do this. And I would say that you absolutely did shine on that panel. Like I would say that you really connected and there was something potent about what it was. But the reason I say that this is good for me to hear is because there are inevitably times where you just like what's going on in your brain is not what's translating
Correct.
at all. You know what I'm saying? Like it's working for somebody, bro. Like I said, I was on the panel with you and I was no longer a panelist. You know what I'm saying? I was write that down. You feel me? So that's really cool, bro.
Yeah. And I think,
I
think we all feel that.
I agree with that, bro. My sentiment at that event and, you know, what I have been continuing to refine at that event, it's the whole thing about separate skills, you know, separate skills. Doing it is not the same as teaching it. You know what I'm saying? And like taking seriously the ability to impart something, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, you know, every time I've gone, I feel like, okay, I'm understanding this a little bit more. So it's funny because like we're there as mentors, but we are also learning. And I think that that's important for people to know. You know what I mean? Like it's just because we're just people who do this shit. We're not professional teachers.
Right.
Although I thought you were.
Right.
I told you, I thought you were. I was like, this guy's a teacher.
Man, you know what's funny? Like after that event, I've actually been doing more talks than I have performances because of that moment. Like specifically because of that moment. And you know what's funny? I've started to just own it now because I recognize, and this is something that I'm learning, you can be in a place that you're called to, but you may not always feel qualified for it. But just because you don't feel qualified does not mean you're not supposed to be there. And I think that sometimes artists, like we get in our head from that perspective, that we look at other people's accomplishments. Oh, that person's had music and TV. Oh, that person's gotten a big gig. Or that person, and then lowly old me with just my 300 followers or whatever. Listen, all of us had to be we all had a starting point. Like every single one of us had a starting point. So don't belittle your start because you comparing yourself to someone else's mile and a half. Like you at the starting line. Like stop looking at them. Like, and you also don't know how they got there. You don't know how they got there either.
I think it just comes down to once you make it about human connection, bro, human connection does not discriminate. You know what I'm saying? Like human connection, it's there or it's not, bro. A resume doesn't need to precede it. We make it so much about vanity. You know what I'm saying? And like vanity is cool, but like, you know what trumps vanity every time? Human connection. You know what I'm saying? Because you could be up there looking pretty and shiny with your resume or whatever, and they ask you a question. If you don't got an answer that's going to help these people out there, then guess what? You know what I'm saying? You failed the assignment. You know what I'm saying? So I think it just all comes back down to no matter where you are in your journey, you know what I'm saying? Like just feeling value that you're here on this earth for a reason and you have something to share. And I think that's what's beautiful about live. Why people should prioritize that experience, because live is the one place where you can't fake anything. You know what I'm saying? People aren't watching a resume on stage. You know what I'm saying? A little dancing piece of paper. Right. You know what I mean? They're watching you and they're like, can you sing? Can you rap? And more importantly is what you're doing connecting with my soul. You know what I'm saying? Like I've definitely been to shows where I've seen somebody and I'm like, man, like this person must be really doing it. Like they're killing it. And then I go and I follow them and they don't have a lot of followers. Or they don't. But guess what though? I'm a fan. You know what I mean? Yeah, bro. I think it's just taking it away from vanity and just realizing like all 10,000 followers all 20,000 followers is just those one show where you got 10 people here, one show where you got 50 people here, one show where you know what I'm saying? Like one talk like this where you got somebody watching the YouTube video with like, it's a slow cook, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And don't I'm also going to say, don't belittle the small numbers either. Like, let's just say you do a show and only 10 people in there. Yo, treat them, treat them 10 like there are 1,000 in there, because because you might slip up and find out them dedicated 10 will bring the 1,000 for you. Stay dedicated to them 10, love on them 10, give them new music, give them whatever they enjoy from you. If just those 10 people want to buy CDs from you, hey, guess what? You got some money in your pocket now. If just them 10 want to wear your merch, guess what? You got 10 people walking around with your shirt, and who knows how many people are going to walk up and be like, yo, what's that hoodie you got on? Hey, where you get that from? Like, yo,
I so missed that, bro. There was something so beautiful which people can experience it, but like, I love that we came up in the era that we did, because I've truly experienced that. I've truly experienced the joy of 3 people walking away with a CD in their hand.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And those 3 people, signing up for my email list and like it really impacting them, in real time, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got to get back to that, bro. I think it's crazy that like on social media, you get like 70 likes on something and you're like, oh man, I'm like 70 human beings.
Thank you.
That was 70 people. Imagine a room full of 70 people.
Crazy. It's crazy.
But like, we're like, it's not 4,000. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? Like, what are you going to do with 4,000 people? If 4,000 people were in the same room as you would be overwhelmed. You know what I'm saying? So,
see, this goes to that preparation thing, right? Some people want success and blessings that they are not set up to handle. So some people aren't putting in the work now with let's say 100 followers that they have.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, wait a minute, you're not putting out content now, or you're not making music now. When 4,000 people are like, yo, where your music at? You think your stress levels are going to go down?
Right.
No, that's not how that works. With elevation comes turbulence.
Uh-huh.
And like my grandma say, new levels, new devils.
That part.
And so if you think that like making music now is something and is a little stressful for you, come on now. Come on, y'all.
So true, bro. So true.
Come on.
Yeah, man. You can't despise humble beginnings, And yeah, to your point about the imposter syndrome, bro, like you have to have the fundamental belief that like you add value because like God saw fit to put you here. You know what I'm saying? Like it has to be that simple for you. I have something to offer that people want. In terms of context, I think the best way to do that in a way where people aren't prejudging you based on the vanity is live.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just go ahead and just bookmark that. I'm gonna say like, or bookend that. I'm gonna just say like, I think people should get back to, and I'm talking to myself. I don't like preaching at people and being a hypocrite. I think we got to get back to human connection and performance. Okay.
If you could give one piece of advice to the version of you that first got started, if you could talk to that version of yourself, what would you say to them?
It's almost low hanging fruit. I'll give a couple things. I'm gonna say trust the process.
Okay.
Because I was always so anxious about whether or not it was going to work out. You know what I'm saying? Whether or not, it's going to pan out. And it's like, there's just something so beautiful about surrendering, and accepting. Your journey is your journey. And like God tends to give you what you're ready for. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just kind of how it works. It pans out. Like it pans out. Just trust that, one. And then 2, I'm gonna say something that my birth father told me when I met him. Which it's ironic because I didn't meet him until I was 18, and he ended up being one of the greatest mentors of my life. But he said, effortless doesn't equal valueless. And he also said, this is a quote that he got from somebody else, but I can't cite it. He said, speak what is obvious to you and you will enlighten the world. And like what both of those things mean to me is like, the whole effortless doesn't equal valueless. There's a thing that you do. There's a thing inside of you that you're overlooking because it comes easy for you. You know what I'm saying? That you're like, it's gotta be harder than this because we're so conditioned to work hard, and you gotta, if it's not hard, it's not work. Right. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, there's a thing that you do there's a thing that you were placed on this earth to do that's effortless for you. And so you're overlooking it and you're not seeing the value in it. And there's somebody that'll pay you for it. You know what I'm saying? And so like try to identify that thing, you know, that is effortless for you and figure out how that you can make that your compass. You know what I'm saying? How you can kind of like let that steer your life. And then what happens is all the abundance that you attract as a result, it's because you were you. You know what I'm saying? You don't gotta like keep up the act. You know what I mean? You don't gotta like, you know, like step outside of yourself, disembody or whatever to acquire it. You know what I'm saying? Like you can just trust that like you know what I'm saying, are the person that attracted that thing. You know? And then speaking what is obvious to you and letting it enlighten the world, like I think that everyone has a unique perspective, and that's just by living your life. No one has your life. You know what I'm saying? There's wisdom that you've gleaned that people, that's like new information to people. That's just like obvious to you. You know, I know that was a lot, but I'll leave y'all with those.
No, that's good. Hey, hit him with the gems. That's good. Yeah. Listen, I appreciate you just hopping on with me for real, bro.
Likewise, bro. This is fun.
This is fire. We're gonna do this again.